Get the hell off this property. It's funny, I bought this house. Imagine buying your dream house, signing every paper, and holding the keys, only to return a few weeks later and find another family living comfortably inside. They were living there like they owned the place, with paperwork they swore was real. That is exactly what happened to Marcus Vance. He was a hard-working man who fought for the life he had finally built. His dream was snatched by a woman who believed her clipboard made her queen of the neighborhood. And the worst part? She sold his house without him ever knowing. But today, she was about to learn a harsh lesson. She picked the wrong man, the wrong home, and the wrong lie to hide behind. Marcus Vance had been waiting weeks for this day. After closing on his first home, a clean one-story property on a quiet road in Oakwood Terrace, he had spent time finishing a final contract at work and gathering everything he needed before officially moving in. The deed was signed, the payments were processed, and the keys were tucked safely in his pocket. Everything about the purchase was completely legitimate, authenticated, and verified. Today was supposed to be simple. He would pull into his driveway, unlock his own front door, and step into the future he had earned. Instead, the moment his car rolled up to the curb, his excitement twisted into pure confusion. There was a silver minivan parked right in his driveway. Children's bicycles lay scattered on the front grass. A doormat he had never seen before sat on the porch. Light flickered through the living room curtains. Curtains he certainly didn't own. Marcus dragged his suitcase out of the trunk, his heart thudding heavily. Maybe the realtor had mixed up a lockbox. Maybe contractors were still doing some final work. But when he reached the porch, a woman he had never seen opened the door with a startled gasp. 2 kids were peeking behind her. "Can I help you?" she asked, nervously clutching a set of keys. His keys. Marcus took a deep breath. "Yeah, this is my house." The woman's face completely drained of color. Her husband, David Miller, appeared behind her. "This home was sold to us 3 weeks ago. We finalized everything with the HOA president. She handled the transfer personally." That title chilled Marcus instantly. Brenda Carmichael. She ran the Oakwood HOA like a kingdom. Before he could respond, the family hurriedly called her, whispering into the phone. Not 3 minutes later, a white SUV screeched to a sudden stop. Brenda climbed out with her clipboard, hugged tightly to her chest. Her chin was raised high like she owned the entire street. The second she saw Marcus, her expression curdled with disgust. "You again?" she snapped. "I already told these homeowners someone like you couldn't own this property. Stop harassing this family." Marcus stiffened, holding his ground. "I bought this home legally. Save it," she barked, waving him off dismissively. "You people always try this nonsense. The officers will handle you." She pulled out her phone and aggressively dialed 911, loudly reporting an intruder refusing to leave. The Miller family looked completely overwhelmed, confused, and terrified of crossing her. Have you ever bought something fair and square, only to have someone try to steal it right out from under you? What would you do if you showed up to your new home and another family was already living inside it? Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where our viewers are tuning in from. And if you believe no one should lose their home because of a racist HOA scammer, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc for stories that put fraudsters exactly where they belong. Marcus stood his ground as distant sirens grew louder. 2 police cruisers turned onto the street, their lights cutting through the afternoon calm. And with that, the real confrontation truly began. The first cruiser stopped at the curb, and 2 officers stepped out. One was a tall, broad-shouldered man with a calm posture, Officer James Lawson. The other was a woman with her hand near her holster, Officer Jessica Thorne. Brenda rushed toward them before they even reached the walkway. "Officers, thank goodness you're here," she exclaimed dramatically. She pointed straight at Marcus, as if he were a wild animal on the loose. That man is trespassing and threatening these innocent homeowners. He refuses to leave. The officers turned to Marcus. Officer Jessica Thorne spoke first. "Sir, we need to understand what's happening. Do you live here?" Marcus lifted his hand slightly in a peaceful gesture. "Yes, my name is Marcus Vance. I purchased this property weeks ago. Today is my move-in day. I don't know who these people are or how they got inside." Brenda scoffed loudly. "Listen to him. Just making things up as he goes. This house was abandoned, and as HOA president, I handled the sale. These folks bought it fair and square. The Millers didn't look so sure anymore." David Miller cleared his throat nervously. "We were told the previous owner forfeited the home. We paid in full. She showed us all the paperwork." Officer James Lawson stepped closer to Marcus. "Do you have proof of ownership?" Marcus nodded confidently, pulling out a folder he had prepared during closing. It held the original deed, transfer confirmations, copies of bank wires, and the official county-stamped purchase record. He handed it over. The officers examined the papers, carefully flipping through dates, signatures, and official seals. Brenda rolled her eyes. "Those are fake, obviously." Officer Jessica Thorne shot her a sharp glance. "Ma'am, let us do our job." Next, the papers from the Miller family were reviewed. They had handwritten signatures that didn't match any official formatting and absolutely no county seal. It was a transfer letter printed on generic HOA paper. Officer James Lawson's brow furrowed. "Where did you get these documents?" David swallowed hard. "She gave them to us." Both officers slowly turned their attention to Brenda. Her posture stiffened defensively. "I facilitated the sale because the property was vacant. It's part of my authority as HOA president." "No, it's not," Officer Jessica Thorne replied flatly. The tension shifted instantly on the front lawn. The family stepped back, their eyes widening as the devastating realization hit. They had been scammed. Brenda's voice cracked. "This is ridiculous. He's lying." "They're lying. Everyone's lying except me." The officers exchanged one final look. Then Officer James Lawson spoke. "Ma'am, don't go anywhere. We're going to need backup." Brenda's face began to twitch, and she took a small, nervous step backward. Her breath quickened as the officers moved slightly to flank her. Officer James Lawson lifted his radio and called for a fraud unit to respond to the scene. The moment he released the button, Brenda pivoted toward her SUV. "Nope," Marcus muttered, stepping forward as she tried to bolt down the walkway. "Ma'am, stop," Officer Jessica Thorne shouted, but Brenda completely ignored her. With her clipboard clutched, she sprinted toward her vehicle. She ran with the frantic wobble of someone who had never run a day in her life. Marcus reacted on pure instinct, intercepting her just before she reached the driver's door. She jerked back, completely startled. "Get out of my way," she shrieked, swinging her heavy clipboard wildly. "I'm the HOA president. I can do whatever I want." "Not today," Marcus replied, gripping her wrist, just as she tried to shove him aside. The officers closed in instantly. Officer James Lawson grabbed her other arm, twisting it gently but firmly behind her back. Officer Jessica Thorne snapped the heavy steel handcuffs securely around her wrists. Brenda let out a piercing scream. "This is harassment. I'm protecting community standards. He's the one trespassing. Arrest him." Neither officer paid any attention to her desperate theatrics now. David Miller stepped forward, trembling while clutching the fraudulent documents. "Officer, we paid her our entire life savings. Are you saying none of this is real?" Officer Jessica Thorne nodded solemnly. "I'm afraid so. These are not legal transfer documents. You were misled." Sarah Miller lowered herself onto the porch step. Hot tears streaked down her face as she tightly hugged Chloe and Noah. "We didn't know." Marcus exhaled, a heavy mix of anger and sympathy building in his chest. "None of this is your fault," he said quietly to the family. "You were targeted just like I was. Brenda continued to thrash wildly. The officers guided her firmly toward the police cruiser. Her voice cracked as she screamed at the neighborhood gathering outside their homes. "You all should thank me. I was keeping this place safe. This community deserves better than him." "Enough," Officer James Lawson snapped loudly. She fell silent for the first time. Soon, backup arrived. Another cruiser pulled up carrying Detective William Cross. The detective began separating everyone for official statements. Marcus provided every piece of documentation he had, along with the timeline of when he purchased the home and why he had briefly delayed moving in. The Miller family provided financial receipts, text messages from Brenda, and access to their emails. Detective William Cross studied them carefully. "This isn't just a misunderstanding," he said. "This looks deliberate." Brenda, sitting cuffed in the back of the cruiser, froze. "And I have a strong feeling," he continued, "that this isn't her first time." Detective William Cross wasted absolutely no time. While officers kept Brenda restrained, he requested access to the HOA office records. Two neighbors, completely fed up with her tyranny, quickly pointed the officers toward the small building behind the community pool. It was where Brenda kept files only she was qualified to manage. Officers returned with heavy boxes of her files. They revealed forged letters, fake violation notices, and lists of homeowners she had maliciously targeted. Detective William Cross skimmed through the evidence and confirmed she had built an organized scam using falsified debts, fake violations, and phony abandonment claims. The Miller family looked completely devastated. "She did this deliberately," David whispered. For a long time, Detective William Cross replied. Two officers stepped aside with Marcus and the family. County records matched his deed exactly. The sale was voided. "Sir," Officer James Lawson said, handing back his real documents, "this house is yours. You'll get full access once we're done." A massive wave of relief washed through Marcus, mixed with anger for the family. Detective William Cross assured the Millers they weren't at fault, and the state would work to return their stolen money. When officers opened the cruiser door, Brenda tried one last, desperate plea. "You can't arrest me. I run this neighborhood." "No," Detective William Cross corrected, pulling out the formal arrest form. "You ran a criminal enterprise." They read her severe charges one by one. Real estate fraud, forgery, and fraudulent transfer of property. They added identity theft, criminal conspiracy, and theft by deception. Her voice finally broke. Her expensive mascara was smeared down her face. She was finally, blissfully silent. As the police cruiser drove away, Marcus stood on his porch. It was the porch that was legally and rightfully his. He breathed in steadily. The absolute nightmare was finally ending. And tomorrow, he would finally move into the beautiful home he had earned. If you believe scammers like Brenda deserve every consequence they face, hit that like button and subscribe to Story Arc. Standing up to corruption starts with telling these stories. See you on the next one.